A majority of Americans believe that members of Congress should not receive a pension, and at least one member of Congress agrees. Republican Congressman Tim Griffin of Arkansas is proposing a bill that would do away with pensions for all recently elected and future members of Congress. And he joins me now. My first question is, how does this proposal is sitting with your colleagues right now in Congress?
Well, we've got some co-sponsors, and we're going to continue to sit down and talk with folks and explain what this is all about. You know, what I've told people is, this is not a moral judgment for me. This is just a matter of what we can afford. And if we were just going to stop with eliminating the pensions for members of the House and Senate, then as a percentage of the budget, you're not talking about a lot of money. You're talking about millions of dollars. But I believe that this is a gateway that we have to go through in order to have credibility to address the pensions of federal employees, of civil servants.
Which is a whole other ball of wax.
That's where you're dealing with hundreds of billions of dollars. I was looking at some numbers, and by 2025, we're going to have a shortfall with regard to federal pensions of $750 billion. And the reality is, if you look at GM and Chrysler and American Airlines and Greece and lots of southern European countries in particular, what you see that they have in common that has caused them fiscal problems is the defined benefit package of a pension. And so we're going to have to deal with these at one point or another. I think we ought to deal with it before it becomes a major problem instead of waiting to, like Europe has done. Now Europe is in the situation, they're not just having to change pensions for future generations, they're actually having to reform pensions for people who are on them.
Congressman, no, you're right, and we're sitting on $15 trillion in debt. There's a number for you right now. That's where we're at as a nation, and I want to get kind of our viewers, if we can, what we're talking about. It's not a small amount of money. You're not wrong here. As of October of 2009, you had 455 retirees that were getting benefits, 275 getting $69K, 180 getting $40K. I added that up. That's about $26 million every year. I can think of a lot of ways to spend $26 million annually not going to congressional pensions.
Absolutely, but I just want to emphasize, this has to be done to demonstrate leadership so that we can take on the number that starts with a B, billion, instead of an M, million, because we will not have the credibility and ability to deal with government-wide pensions unless we deal with ours first. You know, because that conversation goes like this: let's reform civil servant pensions. And then the response is, when are you going to do something about yours? So I say, I refuse my pension, but you don't have to do that. If you could just buy into this legislation, let's get rid of our pension. Don't affect anybody currently relying on it. Don't affect any federal employees currently in the system. But for future generations, let's make it have more, our system have more parity with the private sector. In the private sector, they don't provide pensions in most cases.
Right.
You get a 401k and you get health care.
Right. And maybe, you know, Congressman, maybe you have health care if you work for a corporation in this country. Maybe you don't. So I mean, you've got health care. So you guys and gals there in Congress, you've got health care, you've got a 401k, and you've got a pension. Now, 69% of a recent poll said that they would love to see Congress not get pensions at all. But honestly, do you think this will fly in Congress?
Well, it's going to depend on, well, I'd say a couple things. First of all, it's going to depend on people like you, television, radio, the grassroots, to tell members of Congress how they feel about this. But here's the thing. Sooner or later, we're going to have to reform pensions. The question is, do we reform it on our own time, only for future generations, or do we wait so long that we put ourselves in the situation that Europe is currently in, where we have no choice but to reform it for current recipients? We want to avoid that. So I say, look, I grandfather everybody in who's already vested, and only deal with future generations. I think it is a common sense step so that we can, not end there, but deal with the broader issue of federal government pensions. If I could just say this, if you look at the private sector, it's
Right.
not like we're taking something away that the private sector generously and routinely gives. What we're doing is we're trying to have more parity
Sure.
with what most Americans have
Sure.
to deal with in their own lives.
And a lot of them don't have pensions. A lot of them
Right.
don't even have that option as well.
Most of them.
Congressman Griffin, thank you very much. Maybe this will help approval ratings with Congress. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, now we want to know what all of you think of this idea. Should members of Congress get a pension? Here's what some of you are tweeting the show right now at Jerry Willis FBN. Steve writes, no, they don't. They are there to serve, not to be served. Term limits and shorter sessions. Brad, he agrees. Nobody else gets pensions. A reasonable level of 401k match, that's okay. Plus, the show's Facebook page is bursting right now with comments. This one's coming from Paula. She says, are you kidding me? With all the insider trading deals and mercy knows what else they have been getting? No way. Andy, also part of the majority. Heck no, they should not even receive any pay until they pass a series of balanced budgets. Michael says, absolutely, but they should be merit-based upon service and record. Well, here's your chance to weigh in on our question tonight. Do members of Congress deserve pensions? Log on to jerrywillis.com. Vote on the right-hand side of the screen. I'll share the results with you at the end of tonight's show. All right, everybody, coming up, recovering your assets with a look